You're listening to episode 243 of the Tennis Files podcast with special guest Erick Mathelier from Furi Sport. Hey there, this is Mirabon Aranshad and welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here listening, and I hope that you've been playing a lot of tennis and learning and implementing what you've learned, whether that's from the podcast or any other great resource, if that's your coach that you have teaching you in person or online. And today we have a great interview with Erick Mathelier from Furi Sport. I actually asked Erick to help me pronounce his last name, and I chose the French version. So yeah, it's really great to have him on. I think it's maybe a few months now where Ed Starr, who's on the board of Furi Sport, had contacted me, and it's really cool because Ed is a listener of the podcast, and he mentioned that he was on the board of Furi Sport, and he was nice enough, along with Erick and Michelle, to send me some gear from Furi Sport, rackets and strings, grips, and hoodie as well. And they said no pressure or anything with it, but I really enjoyed, testing all of the stuff that they gave me, and just really great quality stuff. And we got to brainstorming, and I thought that it would be really, really cool to interview Erick, who's one of the co-founders, as I mentioned, with Michelle, about the brand, because it's not easy to put out a top quality tennis brand, that's new, especially in this day and age with all the other established brands, if you will, Wilson, Babolat, Prince, Head, etc. But Furi Sport is a really unique brand with really cool and fresh and hip style that I personally enjoy wearing and sporting. So we're going to get into the ins and outs of how Erick started, or actually co-founded Furi Sport, along with the unique mission of Furi Sport, which, I'll kind of give you a sneak peek, which is to just make tennis more popular amongst, a lot of populations that perhaps are not, don't feel so inclusive or included in the sport. And I think that's a really cool mission statement. And, as we'll talk in the show, I mean, a lot of times, when you look at certain tennis players or the majority, as a person from a different demographic, perhaps, like, you might not feel like it's a fun place to pursue, to be involved with. But when you start to see all these cool, new, stylish, I guess combining fashion and hip hop culture and urban culture and such, like you see Frances Tiafoe and Nick Kyrgios, I mean, that attracts a whole new bunch of a whole new demographic of people to the sport, which is what we want. We want it to be diverse and very inclusive. So really, really enjoy Furi Sport, and it was a great conversation with Erick. So we're going to talk about what Furi Sport is and the different products that they have that I've been testing and enjoying. And also really, really cool to learn just how the development process is. Which products did Furi Sport develop first, and then what is coming out for them. So this is certainly a little bit of a different episode from the standpoint of us focusing on a brand and how they're developing their products. But I think it's really, really fun and entertaining as well, and also informative. So with that, I would like to bring you to my interview with Furi Sport's Erick Mathelier. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the podcast, and it is an honor and a pleasure to have on Erick Mathelier on the podcast to talk about Furi Sport. I've really been enjoying using, obviously I've got this hoodie on if you all are watching visually, at least. If you're listening on the podcast, maybe you can't see it, of course, but the hoodie, the rackets, the strings, the grips, really been great, high quality stuff, and really excited to feature, a brand that is really cool in my opinion and very unique from a lot of the other ones out there. So Erick, thanks a lot for coming on to the podcast, and how are you doing?
I'm good, doing well. Thank you for having me.
For sure. Anytime. Yeah. It's a pleasure. And I just want to start off. I really enjoy learning how people get their start playing tennis. So, how did you get your start in the sport?
So accidentally it was I want to say by accident, but my first love was actually baseball. So
Mm,
I grew up in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, which is one of the five boroughs in New York City. My family's from Haiti, so I'm a first generation Haitian American. So my first early memories, of playing sports was baseball. I wanted to be I guess maybe a major league baseball player. But how I got into tennis was at the age of 10. I was one of two black kids on an all white baseball team in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, which at the time was predominantly white. And during that time, and I'm dating myself, but this is the late 80s, they had a teenager by the name of Yusef Hawkins. There was a documentary on HBO, I think it came out last year, but he ended up going into the neighborhood to go, I think it was to check out a car. He ended up getting into an altercation with a group of white kids. He ended up getting killed. So, New York City was the city was, it was a lot of craziness going on, racial stuff. So my family, was a little hesitant for me. It was a little bit scared for me to, even though, I would have someone take me there, but that this whole vibe, they didn't, want me to be a part of it. At the time being 10, I didn't really understand, racism or anything like that. You feel like the world is all, everything is,
Rosie.
great. Yeah, Rosie, exactly. So I had to stop playing. It's like, I don't feel comfortable. So I had to stop playing. So I was a pretty active kid. I started to get into basketball too, but I was short. So I was one of those kids that, when we had to line up for class, I was one of the first kids in in the row. I actually grew to be 5'10", which, I'm happy to be. But, when I was young, I didn't think I was going to even be that high. So, yeah. So, I remember calling my mom and, asking her, I can't play baseball, so I need something to do. I had a lot of energy. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try this tennis. Prior to that, like, when I was 7 or 8, I would see it on TV, but I thought it was boring. I was like, I don't really like it. It's slow. But, she was like, Eric, if you want to play, go on the yellow pages and go find somewhere. So that was typical of my mom. At the time, I didn't realize it. I was like, damn, why can't she just, do it for me? But, she wanted me to be, determined and not depend on anyone to do things. So I actually found a local tennis club not too far from my house, Prospect Park Tennis Center. And that's when that's how I got started at the age of 10. I went once a week. So either my grandmother or my mom would take me and I would take lessons. And that's how that's how I got started.
That's awesome, Eric. And you ended up being at getting to a pretty high level. I mean, you ended up playing college tennis. I think you got a scholarship.
Yeah, St. Francis College.
So,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How did that go for you?
So how did that happen? So after 3 years of, playing once a week, I just, I was like, I fell in love with the sport. And I was like, man, I would see some of these junior players who some of them I ended up becoming lifelong friends with, like so much better than me. I'm like, how do I get better? And, I sat down with my coach at the time. His name was Todd Snyder. And he said, all you got to do is play more. So luckily enough, my mom was able to put me in summer camp. Back then, it wasn't too expensive. So I just started playing from the age of 13 on. So that summer at the age of 13, I played every day and I was able to improve. Within 1 year, I won most improved at the tennis club. And as a result, I was able to play a tournament in Bermuda. And that was my first plane ride. Prior to that, I had never flown on an airplane. So, a lot of things happened within that year. And then I started playing junior tennis. And then, I got lucky enough to get a college scholarship to St. Francis College, which is a D1 school. And so I played and I graduated in 2000.
That's super neat, Eric. Tennis opens a lot of doors and, gives you a lot of first experiences. So that's super neat. So, Eric, I'm curious also about the period in between college tennis for you and then up until when you decided to co-found Furi Sport. So can you talk to us about that as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So after college, I spent 2 years in finance. So I was in the mutual fund industry. So I worked for Sun America, did that. And then after the 2 years, ended up getting my Series 6. And then for a hot second, I was like, all right, maybe I'll, pursue the financial route. But, again, I had that, interest in going to law school or grad school. So, I applied to a few law schools, didn't get into the schools that I wanted to, but I got into the grad school. So I ended up going to grad school. So I graduated in 2006 with a degree in urban policy, and I ended up working for the Department of Housing Preservation and Development, which is one of the city agencies in New York City. And I did that for 7 months before ended up getting fired, believe it or not. Didn't get along with my boss. And, I always knew, like I said, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know when. And at that moment in 2007, had some money saved up, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to take some time to, figure it out. So that's kind of what started my entrepreneurial journey. So I dabbled my hand in a few things. And then my first, I would say little success, I had believe it or not, a dessert delivery business that I co-founded. I did that for 2 years, got burnt out. And then from there, me and my former co-founder at the time launched a media company, small media site around culture, streetwear, around that stuff. And then at the end of 2015, while I was actually down in Miami doing an event with Airbnb, Michelle, my co-founder, who I met previously in 2014, came to me with this idea that ended up becoming Furi Sport.
That's neat. And, things don't just go from idea to all of a sudden all these awesome products here. You got to put in a lot of work. So I'm wondering, I guess, how did you all first decide on what products to create? Because obviously you got, as we mentioned, you got the tennis equipment part of it with the racket strings, the bags, which look fantastic as well. And then you got the clothing, and you even have like a pretty cool line as well, like kind of like Japanese type
inspired.
Of
It's like an elevated. Yeah. We like to call it elevated streetwear. So we knew in order for us to be taken seriously, we needed to have equipment, and obviously people, when you talk to people like, oh, wow, how do a tennis racket looks very simple, but to make a good one is, and I'm going to say a lot of varies, but it's very, 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 very hard. So we knew coming out the gate, we needed to have equipment, and we needed to do it, I guess, the best way we could. So our thesis was like, all right, let's focus on equipment first, and then gradually develop our, accessories, then our apparel.
Got you. And then I guess to kind of just go deeper into the racket route, because I mean, like you said, basically, I mean, there's a lot of racket companies out there, making tons of different rackets. So what was that process like in terms of like deciding on, the look, the technology, and, the who to cater for as well, and all that?
So that was the $1 million questions, because there was so many different, ways we could have gone. We had a lot of meetings. Some of them were very, let's just say, highly. The energy was very, very. It could be contentious, because everyone had their opinion. And at the time, so we decided this journey started in 2016. Just to give people some context. And at the time, I would say I had stopped playing tennis. So prior to that, it was 2004, I would play recreationally. So I went I would follow professional sports, but I went a good, from 2004, maybe I'd play once in a blue moon. So I just didn't touch a racket, life, you started to do, doing different startups and stuff like that. So for me, I grew up playing with Prince rackets. So I'm biased towards more of a, traditional box frame type of frames. Rackets, but a lot of people at the time was like Babolat. When I started getting back into it, everyone had a Babolat racket, round shape, power. So that was the big debate amongst the people who was helping us to develop, is like, oh, do we go the round shape route or do we go more of the traditional? But so I have two main consultants that work with us. One is from Japan. He's worked with Wilson and Head for over 30 years. He had his opinion.
Awesome.
And have another master racket technician who owns 2 pro shops in New Jersey, childhood friend of mine. And what we guessed, and we seem to have guessed right, we thought the market was actually moving away from a round shape and more back towards a more traditional box frame. And just for your listeners, if they're like, okay, what's the difference between a round shape, box frame? Round shape tends to be more powerful. Box frame tends to be more of the control oriented rackets, like the Wilsons, the Heads of the world. Round shape is more Babolat rackets, stuff like that. So we made we had a few people who, no longer working with us, was like, hey, let's just make a racket similar to Babolat. But we were thinking like, listen, as a new brand, if we just make a racket similar to Babolat, as a consumer, who are they going to go with? A new brand, or are we going to go with a brand that's, established? So we
Right.
like, you know what, if we're going to have a shot, let's, go with the, traditional frame. So that's the route that we went. And one of the things, a racket is a racket, right? So it's you don't have that much wiggle room in the design process because pretty much everything has been done. So we had to figure out, creative ways to kind of take a traditional frame, but bring it into, a modern time. So like if you take a look at the shape of the racket, it's more of a, box, but it has more teardrop, shape and stuff like that. So as we're thinking through these things, we felt like, okay, these are, some of the key things that we think could make a very stable racket. That was the initial thought process. And then figuring out the technology, what type of technology we wanted to use. And the market that we wanted to cater to was more of a recreational market. But once we got our first prototypes, we realized, oh, wow, this is actually a player's frame. It was actually better than what we expected.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the reviews, what I feel, and also reviews that I've heard as well, is that it's really a unique racket. I mean, you have like 101 square inch and you got
exactly.
like,
That's our consultant. He in his head, we're like, are we going to do 100? He's like, no, let's do 101. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you're the expert. So I'm like, all right, if you want to go with that. But, when we tell people that, everyone is shocked. They're like, no, the racket head, we've gotten like, oh, that looks like a 95. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that's a bit of a stretch. But I've heard a 98. No, it's just how we designed it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you guys did a great job with your consultants, and, I feel that it's really like, it's stable. Good balance of, stiffness as well. It's not too stiff. It's not going to kill your arm like some certain brands. And yeah, great feel. And I think you guys did a great job with it. And it's nice that you offer like a light version. I think that's like 10 ounces unstrung, and then a 10.8 ounces for the pro version. So
exactly. Yeah.
So it's good stuff, man. And
thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then also, I think in terms of the tech, you have the energy return technology and then the vibration return technology. So I guess like the latter is for the comfort, and then the former is like more for like is that for like extra power?
Extra power, yeah. Because as you know, with box frame rackets, they tend to be more control oriented. So when I used to play with my Prince racket, I had to throw some lead on, to get a little bit more oomph. So we wanted to, in a stock, obviously, there's people, I have friends that play with our stick. They put lead, that's fine. But we out of the gate, at least for stock, we wanted to have, some good oomph. For some people, it's it might be a little bit too powerful, because I have a friend, he calls our strings, our C4 string, because it's orange. He calls it the orange crush. So he's like, Eric, with the racket, he's like, it's too powerful for me. So I have to actually hybrid it out. But so yeah, we all jokes aside, we just wanted to create a stock racket that had a good enough pop to it. Then, like if you feel like you wanted a little bit more power, you can customize it to your liking.
Yeah, that's a great point. You can always use that lead tape to get the perfect combination for you. Curious, by the way, did you use the Michael Chang racket? Was that what you used?
Yeah, I used the graphite. The
yeah.
the green. Yeah, exactly. The Michael Chang. Man. Yeah,
classic
one, exactly. Classic. And then when I got back before, we co-founded, I played with the Prince Tech Stream. It's the green and black one that my Lucas Pouille used to use, before he switched to Babolat. So that's the one I was using when I got back in 2016, when I got back into the sport.
Got you. Very cool. And just in terms of like getting, I guess the word out there with the racket, especially, like, I mean, what are your main avenues? Like how are you, trying to spread the word and everything?
So right now, obviously with being a new brand, it's always a challenge. You don't have the big budgets as the bigger brands, but a lot of it has been, we haven't done any digital media. So a lot of it, if it has been press, has been earned media. So we were in the New York Times. We were mentioned in Elle Magazine, Business of Fashion, Complex. So some really credible. So that helped a lot. But it's been really primarily word of mouth and coaches, coaches who come on board, who've been pushing it to their clients. So those are the two main, and on our website, if you hear about us, you come to our website and stuff like that. So I would say those are the, 3 or 4 main channels.
Awesome. Yeah. And I definitely highly encourage that you all demo these rackets. I mean, you have a demo program, right?
Yes. So yeah, so the demo
Okay.
program now is, you come onto the site, you can demo up to 2 rackets for $30. You can hold on to the racket for 14 days. And if you do
Hmm.
decide to purchase the racket, that $30 can be added to the price of the rackets.
That is an excellent deal in my opinion, because, I think most places only give you a week.
Yeah.
And then I don't know that I mean, maybe some of them apply the demo racket money, but I don't know that all of them do that. So that's really good.
Yeah.
Cool. And then how about the C4 strings? I mean, first of all, I love the color, fantastic. I mean, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have like many,
Orange.
orange type. Yeah, exactly. Orange crush, as your friend says. And copolyester monofilament. I think that's
Yeah.
a great move in terms of that type of string. So yeah, just tell me any other details and maybe how. Oh, also, I guess how did you come up with that as well? Like, was that also a consultant that you talked to figure it
Yeah.
out?
So again, being a small, we don't have a big R&D team. So just really leaning in on people who have, between our two consultants, it's combined like over 50 years of industry experience, right? So they've seen what worked, they've seen what worked and seen what didn't. So when we're again thinking, we knew we wanted to come out with a polyester string, but number one with the color, because again, fashion is built into our DNA. We wanted something that at least it's not out there, very often. So if you do see that, orange color, be like, oh, okay, that's, Furi,
Right.
or
Smart.
hopefully, people start to associate the orange with Furi. But when we were thinking about it, we tested it, all different types of strings, but we wanted a string, this string is more round shape, so it doesn't have bite. Because when we were testing out, I tend to like, strings with some bite, but then when you get some people, they like it or they don't. So we just wanted to, then we're like, you know what, let's just do a round shape, pretty, baseline string. But I think the key feature, because I think polyester sometimes gets a bad rap of how stiff it is, the C4 strings tend to be soft. It has a really, it's very soft and it has good tension maintenance. So those were the two main things that we wanted to do, because polyester tends to lose tension pretty quickly. This one, sometimes, I have certain people, certain, customers who say, damn, I'm getting 13, 14 hours. I'm still getting the tension maintenance. It's too good now, so I'm like, hey, you can just cut it out, so.
Right. I think that's a great move too. I mean, you definitely want your players to be comfortable in terms of, yeah, some of these polys out there are really rough on the arm. So that's cool. And also, yeah, I meant to ask you, how did you come up with the names too for the rackets and the strings?
So, I mean, again, as a team, one of my consultants came up with the name Arma. So he was like, we were thinking through, all different types of names, right? And, some of the names were old names from the past that, probably like, we can't do that. We'll get in trouble. But, we're thinking about, like Arma just means weapon in Spanish. So like, what do you do when you go on the tennis court? So it's that's your weapon. So once that, and we really, we did our little due diligence, we saw there was no other racket named that. We're like, yo, that's perfect. Your Arma, your weapon of choice. And then with the C4, because the polyester had good pop, C4 is explosion basically. So So that's how we came up with the name.
That's cool. Just like random side note, I just realized that because like I used to play a lot of Counter Strike.
Okay.
And like you got to plant the C4. So I was like, oh yeah, that's it.
Oh
That's
yeah. Okay. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool. So, and then, yeah, I guess with the properties for the string, I mean, it seems like for what I feel is I get, great spin, control, and also power as well. I mean, it's just a good, all around comfortable string. Like you said, a little bit softer.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think people should definitely check that out as well. And, just to go back to, I really like what you all are doing too, because I mean, when you look at a lot of, people, I guess when people are looking at the sport, they want to feel like some inclusion and feel like, cool and everything like that and fashionable. And, you see a lot of really fantastic players like Francis Tiafoe, who's local to us, and Naomi Osaka and Nick Kyrgios, and they're wearing, like very fashionable clothing
NBA
on, or,
jerseys
NBA
and
gear.
stuff
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yep, exactly. Nick loved the NBA. He's a big Boston Celtics fan. So yeah, if he could play with a jersey, I'm sure he would love to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I think that's partially why you're infusing, the fashion side, so that I think that's just going to help overall to get more people like to see, Furi Sport, they got really cool like clothing and mission statements. So I'm going to like rock their stuff, and then they're going to want to play more tennis. So I think it's a service, by doing what you all are doing. So.
Oh no,
Pretty.
thank you. Just a little,
Yeah.
to expedite. I think, when we're thinking again, like our thesis back in 2016, my business partner again, she comes from fashion. She worked at Calvin Klein, Macy's,
Right.
started off her career in Macy's, Calvin Klein, DKNY when DKNY was, very popular, Polo. We knew that tennis and fashion were associated, but I think sometimes people forget that. There's a lot of people that rock the Stan Smith sneakers, right? You see everyone, it's crossed over. But, if you tell someone that doesn't know tennis or doesn't play, I'm like, that's technically a tennis sneaker that someone played back in the 70s. They'll be like, oh, really? Yeah. So tennis does have that, but I feel like over the years, it kind of, I don't want to say lost its way, but, it got away from that. And I know when I got into the sport, my favorite player was Andre Agassi. And when he had the long hair, the denim shorts with the tights underneath, that was cool. And his sneakers, I mean, just growing up in an urban environment, I would rock that and not feel like I was, out of place, as an alternative to wearing, Michael Jordan sneakers and stuff like that. That was pretty popular back then. So it had that crossover appeal. And I feel like tennis can have that, but I just think that, we got safe, the sport got safe. And, this would work. This is what worked. And I think now we're reaching now in 2022 with the new generation coming in. It's an opportunity to kind of like, reimagine the sport. And this is how we're going to grow it. I think, if we can continue to get new brands come in, have a different point of view, I think this is great.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's great stuff. And as well, actually, one of my friends, Mike, he one day he came into our Friday clinic, and he had a Furi bag. So that really like those. It looks really cool. And you got like a 2 to 3 racket like backpacks, and then you got the 12-pack racket bag, and you got the 2 racket tote bag from what I've seen on the site. So how about that? What was that in the pecking order? Was that like third or
that was
fourth,
number 2?
Or?
Oh no,
Okay.
that was actually so that was the racket, and that was number 2. So the whole thought process behind that. So I was talking to Michelle, and I told her, I know we got a conversation about the bags, and I was like, when I was playing, you would never catch me with my Prince bag outside of tennis. It's literally to the tennis court and home. You wouldn't see me walking around because it's just like, it wasn't cool. Right. So I was like, if we were to do something, we definitely need to make it fashionable. So, some people ask us like, why black? For us, black is just the counter of, it's like anti. So, because I guess tennis has that perception of country club. So we're like, you know what, we want to be the opposite of that. So black, and black's also too, it's just a sleek look to it. So
it is.
When we're thinking about the branding, especially in tennis, I don't think there's been a brand that's just like predominantly black. So that was one. When we're thinking through the bags, we knew we wanted it to be functional, but also fashionable. So the way the bags look, it doesn't look like a traditional tennis bag besides our Heli, the big 12-pack. Everything else, we wanted it to be like, hey, if you don't use it for tennis, you can use it for something else. So it has a multi-purpose functionality to it. And being a brand from New York City, where a lot of us live in apartments that are not too big, you don't have room for a lot of bags. So we wanted to make sure that, hey, if you use this bag, it has, multi-use. So that was kind of our initial thought process behind the designs of the bag.
Yeah, I definitely love it, man. I mean, I was looking at these bags. They look fantastic. I would use them for not just, for sure, not just for tennis. But if you do look at most of the, maybe probably all like of the racket backpacks, it's like, I don't know that I would bring that to like Starbucks to like, to work and stuff. Like, it's just not quite.
Exactly.
Not quite.
Like I still have my old Prince bag. I was looking at it, and I was like, damn, man. I was like, it's just folded up in the corner, and I'm just like, geez. Because I would, I had the big 12-pack. I would just like literally go to the court, come home. I wouldn't, because I felt a little embarrassed, like, oh, you play tennis, E? You play tennis? I'm like, oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. That's kind of that's the feeling that, I used to have.
Yeah, be like, oh, you think you're a prince or something? Like...
Exactly. Now when I'm wearing my bag, I'm like, I'm cool. I'm just walking, no problem.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean the logo is excellent as well. Cool. Yeah, and I definitely highly recommend you all check that out at furisport.com. I think it's slash collections slash bags. And then you also have some nice overgrips as well.
Hmm.
And was that what was that in the pecking order?
That was so rackets was first. Oh, that was actually third. That was actually third.
Third. Okay. Oh, so
Yeah.
okay, so you had the rackets, then the
Bags
bags,
and then the
overgrips.
overgrips. Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that was the third
Nice.
in the pecking order because we
Nice.
wanted to be a full suite. It's really we have four different SKUs. We have one that's a little bit more tacky, which we call the ultimate overgrip. Then we have the perforated, that's the one with the holes. Then we have the super thin, which is similar to our ultimate overgrip, but it's just a little bit thinner. And then we have our dry type, which would be comparable to a toner grip.
Hmm. You have any recommendations, like just on, I mean, even just generally, or for like who should use like what grips for these?
If you sweat a lot, you sweat, like if you live in Florida and you sweat a lot,
Mhm.
definitely you would want to look at something like our dry type,
Mhm.
because it's dry. My favorite of the four is the perforated with the holes. I love
Mhm.
those. But if you want something super tacky, then definitely the ultimate. That's our standard type, which would be comparable to I guess a Wilson. I don't know what they call it, but the Wilson's overgrip,
Yeah,
I
like
would
those
say.
white. Well, I mean, I guess there are many colors, but I used to have a pack of like the white over grips from Wilson,
Yes,
like the
exactly. So our
Pro or
ultimate,
something.
yeah, Wilson Pro. Yeah, so our ultimate would be comparable to that.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. And then the thin one is that just for people who like more feel like
Yes,
for the
exactly. Who
okay,
want something a
okay.
little bit more, less thick. So that would be for
Mhm.
them as well. But it's very similar. It's basically like the brother or sister to our ultimate, but just thinner version.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, I was definitely impressed by the different kinds you have on here. Cool, man, cool. And then the clothing, obviously, like I said, I just totally being honest, I wear this like probably like 3-4 times a week.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So I could give you a quick overview. So we wanted, when we were thinking through, what do you wear once you're done playing tennis, right? So I guess that was, our whole thought process. A lot of people, a lot of players tend to like, especially in New York, like if you're at a club, you're gonna go meet up a friend. There's not a lot of clothes that look nice,
Yeah.
So our designer comes from he's from Portugal, but he lives in Paris. He used to work for high-end designers such as Kenzo, Paco Rabanne. He's worked with brands such as Clarins, Hermes, and pretty high end. Like for us to work with him, we had to actually bring him down because the types of fabrics that he wants to use is like, no, that's not the price point that we.
Cashmere sweaters.
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to basically just come up with our version of a tennis kit, but something that you wear off the court. So, heavily inspired, the shapes are very Japanese, but basically it's our take of streetwear, we have our key logo, but not trying to be overly, logo like a lot of, other brands. We do have our regular merch that does have the logo, but this we wanted to be more elevated. So that was kind of our whole thought process and make it genderless because I feel like the trend now is for, like women can wear men's clothes. So like our pants,
Mm.
Women and men can wear that. So just, just trying to think of a more genderless um, world, if you want to say.
Gotcha. That's fantastic. And then on the I guess on the regular apparel side,
Mhm.
I see that I mean you got obviously the hoodie that I'm wearing, which I love, and then you got like t-shirt, crew necks in different colors, and the hat. Is there any thoughts on any other products at the moment, or are you just gonna
Oh yeah.
kind of stick with these?
Oh no, I mean right now we actually sold out of the cap right now, and then the t-shirts are sold out. So we gotta re-up on those things. But yeah, I mean this is just the beginning. We have some more fashion oriented like logo merches that we'll be releasing this summer, doing like small drops. And then the big thing that we'll be launching is we're working right now on our performance, which we're super excited about. So
Mm.
now it's going to be clothing that you can actually play tennis and,
Ooh.
keeping with our same thesis of being, on the court, off the court. Coming up, it's going to have a key technology that right now no one has on the market, really being stylish, so, hopefully things that people find, cool, so we're looking to have that hopefully by the US Open with regards to the performance.
Excellent. That's awesome. That's awesome, Eric. By the way, I assume you're probably going to be at the US Open?
Yeah,
Okay,
probably.
cool.
In what capacity, I don't know yet, but I'll definitely keep you posted as, the date gets closer.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to meet up with you up there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Go there.
And maybe we can get on the tennis court as well.
Yeah. That'd be tight. That'd be great. Yeah, love to hit with you. Cool. And also, just in terms of, I guess like the future for you. I know you mentioned the sports products, or the tennis wear, which is super exciting. I guess are there any other plans for the future, or just next steps in terms of trying to broaden the brand out to more people?
So the next step is definitely, performance is really key because, we've been approached by a lot of, people who like, hey guys, that was one of our number one requests. Like if we did do the order all over again before we did the off court clothing, we would have done the performance. So we kind of did it in reverse. So, our focus is really to get that performance, nail that. And then, and just continue to, right now is all about brand awareness and getting the brand in front of more people, hearing our story. That's why I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to speak to you, to, get the brand message out there. So that's, I would say for 2022, that's, like our, big push is, continuing with the brand awareness, getting that performance clothes. We're coming, with junior rackets. So we'll be releasing this spring junior racket. So we'll have a 25-inch and 26-inch junior racket. And then we'll have a 98 square inch limited edition drop of rackets. That's another thing. So certain players are like, yo, Eric, I love the racket, but you guys come in a smaller head. So it'll be for those types of players who, are used to playing with a 98. So we'll be releasing that. We're hoping by the end of April. And then from there, now people are you doing pickleball. So eventually, we'll look into other, racket sports. Pickleball will probably be the next sport that we'll get into next, because it seems like it's on fire right now.
Yeah, it's definitely exploding. There's definitely more pickleball people that are taking up the courts, and I'm not 100% pleased, sometimes like in some cases they're converting the tennis courts and stuff, but
I know,
I can appreciate that. It's a great another great sport for people to get exercise and all that. So,
I haven't played it yet. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it, because I was like, oh, is this gonna mess up my tennis? And they're like, no, it's like ping pong on steroids. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm still on the fence. I haven't been, I haven't played it yet. So, but hopefully, I'll give it a try one of these days. Yeah,
definitely. There's just some, interesting rules. Like, I guess you can't volley, or you can't step inside the kitchen, they call it, which is basically like past the service line. Trying to make a comparison, to volley. So anyway, there's, I think you'll like it, but I like tennis a little better.
Exactly. Well, we'll be looking to get into that, eventually. But yeah. For us as a brand overall, we just want to continue to grow, get more people into the sport. For us, it's not every day you see, a minority and woman-owned brand, especially in this category.
Yeah.
Which I think is, definitely unique. And just trying to, make this sport, seem cooler, to get more people into the sport. I think that's one of our biggest things, is to get more people into the sport. And for me, coming from my background as well, I just wanted to quickly touch upon that. Just trying to get more minority kids into the sport. Not everyone could be a basketball player, not everyone could be a football player, not everyone could be a rapper, but, maybe they can use tennis as a vehicle, as, you perfectly said earlier, to open doors for them and get them to college. And then, the sky's the limit for them. So that's another thing that we're passionate about, at Furi Sport, is reason to the game.
Yeah, I love that. And just expanding the different types of people in the game, and helping them, feel like more included in the sport is fantastic. Fantastic mission. Oh, also side question that I saw. I mean, obviously that you got the Armor Light, Armor Pro. There it
Yep.
says V2. Was there a V1 as well?
Yeah, so back in 2018, our first run when I went to China, we ended up, and that's what I actually played with. I played with the limited edition version 1. We made a limited edition. We numbered them 1 to 100. So we had 100 lights and 100 pros, and we played with that. Yeah, and so we sold that. We still have a few left. I have some friends there keeping it actually for. They're like, yo, this might be worth something someday. So I'm like, okay, if you want to, okay, cool. But that's what I actually play with. The V2 is definitely more smoother. This one is like, if you want to consider like our prototype version. But that's what I actually play with. I just like, I like rackets to have a little rougher feel to it. This, I don't know. I just, I tend to gravitate to that, but yeah, so that's the reason why I have a V2, and then, we'll continue with V3, and so on and so on.
Very nice, Eric. Well, I mean, I've really been enjoying talking with you today, Eric. I want to just kind of re-educate people on where to, and we're going to have links like in the show notes page and all that. But like, what's the best place for people to go to check out all of Furi Sport's awesome products?
Oh yeah, so they can go to furisport.com, and it's spelled Furi, because sometimes we get Fury, but no, it's actually Furi Sport, Sport.com. And you can also find us on Instagram at Furi Sport, Furi Sport, or on Twitter. We're not as active on Twitter, but like you can reach out to us on that. Or if you want to email us, you can email us at support@furisport.com, or they can just send us a DM on Instagram as well. And we'll eventually get on TikTok. That's one of our next things that we need to figure out.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, obviously you got a lot of the youth on there, so you can definitely hit that market as well. And then just also like your social media handles, are they at Furi Sport?
Yep, everything. Yep. So Twitter, Instagram, it's all at Furi Sport. That's the Instagram, and again, they can hit us up on there, and someone on the team will definitely get back to them, or if not, they can get support, and then we'll get back to them as well.
Excellent. So, Eric, before we close, just want to ask if you have any other closing thoughts or anything else you want to add before we again,
I'm so appreciative, of this opportunity to speak to me. We're definitely trying to reimagine how the sport is viewed, trying to make it a little bit cooler, trying to change that narrative that, tennis is just, a country club sport, and it's not. I mean, this, as we started to build, it's it's actually diverse, more diverse than a lot of people would think. I've met people it could be from finance to music to, a teacher, I met so many, different races, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, and, it's so cosmopolitan, and, but I just, again, that's not portrayed. It's always portrayed like, oh, it's just a country club, blah, blah, blah. No. So these are the things that we're trying to, bring out, with the brand, and, our visuals, and what we're working toward to say that, hey, tennis is for everyone, and make it more inclusive.
Love it, Eric. Well, great job again to you and the team.
Thank you so much.
Oh, for sure. And big shout out to Ed as well, who connected us.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. And I definitely highly recommend everybody to check out Furi Sport at furisport.com. And like I said, we'll have the links that we mentioned today in the show notes page. Like I said, I really enjoy wearing the hoodie as well, and testing out the products, and I definitely get a lot of stares. I feel like people are really interested. Like I was in a Starbucks line on Sunday after playing a match, and then like I saw somebody like staring at my chest, and it's not like I'm a bodybuilder. They're definitely looking.
You're like, what are they looking at? Right? It's like, I hear that a lot. Exactly, and we got to get you a T-shirt. So once we have the next one, we'll definitely send that. Yeah, and one question I do get asked a lot, oh, what's the story with the name? And I always say, I wish I had a good story, but just trying to figure out some name, typing up some stuff in Google Translate, and actually, I forgot what I typed, and then Furi came up, but it was spelled Furii, and I was like, wow, this could be interesting, specifically for sports, because, Fury can have a bad connotation, but when you're in sports, you can if you tap into your passion and use it positively, you can do anything. So when I was like, wow, that could be interesting for, a brand name. So that's the, if you want to call it a story, but.
That's cool. Do you remember what language you were searching?
It was in Japanese. I typed something in Japanese and then it came up Fury, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this could be good. This could be good. So, yeah. Nice. So, yeah, that's how we came up with the name.
Cool. Well done, Eric. Well, again, thanks a lot for coming on to the podcast, and I'm sure we'll reconnect again soon. And I hope to see you in New York as well. So all the best. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for listening.
You too. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. All right. I hope you really enjoyed my interview with Erick Mathelier. Eric, thanks a lot for coming on to the show, and really enjoyed our conversation about Furi Sport. And for all the links to the different products and Furi Sport's various socials and website, definitely check out the show notes. Of course, you can go to furisport.com to check out all their awesome equipment and gear, racket strings, and so forth. With that, I hope that you really enjoyed the show. And if you did, and if you get value from the podcast, I would really appreciate it if you would leave a review for the Tennis Files podcast. And you can do that at tennisfiles.com/Apple Podcasts or in your podcast app of choice that you use to listen to the show. I just find that Apple Podcast seems to be the most popular one out there and the most helpful in terms of moving the needle for the show to be shown higher up the list, and therefore to have more people benefit from it. So each review and rating really does help the show quite a bit. So I really appreciate it. Thank you in advance. And I would also like to leave you with a quote, as I often do at the end of the show. And this one is by Mike Murdoch. And Mike said, "The secret of your future is hidden in your daily routine." That is really a fire quote, so to speak, and so true. So definitely look at your daily routine, and if it does not seem very productive and conducive to success and prosperity, then you might want to adopt some positive habits, such as exercising in the morning or meditating, doing yoga, stretching, things like that, reading, pick up habits that successful people are doing, and it's going to definitely provoke a big change, a positive change and feeling in your lives and your tennis games and so forth. So hope you found that little piece of advice along with that quote helpful. And with that, thank you so much for listening to the show, and I will see you on the next episode of the Tennis Files podcast. This is Mirban Ranchad signing out.